From the newsroom to the nursery,
we're juggling a demanding career on live TV with the demands of motherhood.
I'm Katie.
And I'm Karen.
They are AnchorMOMS.
Hi, friends. Welcome into another episode of AnchorMOMS. Karen here.
Katie here.
Listen, we are joining you not only from the podcast studio via your favorite podcast listening app, but also via YouTube.
That was such a long way to get to that.
Right. I don't know.
I think you got the terminology right. I think a lot of folks listen on an app on their phone. If that's the way you listen to AnchorMOMS, that's the way you prefer, you can continue to do that. But if you want to see some behind the scenes, what's really happening when we record.
If you want to see our new fancy AnchorMOMS mugs.
We chinked our mugs there.
And our setup in here.
Yeah, if you want to see us, I was going to say live doing it, but it's not live. If you want to see us recorded doing this, you can log on to WLOS's YouTube page. If you go to YouTube, just plug in WLOS, AnchorMOMS, we will pop right up.
And big shout out to our editor, our engineers. Listen, it is no small feat to get cameras and lights and all the things to make a podcast camera-able.
Yeah, camera-able. Another interesting way to put it. Yeah, it's like I have to put on lipstick now.
I know. We have to actually look like
I have to sit up straight.
We are doing our real job of being on TV.
Ooh, I know, but normally when I'm on TV, I have a teleprompter in front of me, so I don't have to actually think too much. Now I have to think and sit up straight. It's a really hard task. It's just really, that's a hard task.
But we're doing it. We're doing it.
We're doing it.
Just for the folks who want to watch on YouTube. It's exciting.
It is. I am. But, we've been doing this podcast for a long time. It's fun to see the evolution of it all. And if you've been listening for a long time, thanks for sticking with us.
Yeah. And we are just, weeks away from back to school.
Some of you or your kids may have even gone back to school, depending on where you live.
I'm seeing a lot of back to school photos starting to pop up in my feed. So I think Tennessee's already started. I think a lot of places have already started. I feel like we're on the later side here. My kids start at the end of August. Your daughter is kind of a week or so before.
Right.
And you, my friend, are on it. You're doing the things to get ready for back to school. I have done nary a single thing to get ready for back to school, but it will happen eventually.
It will happen.
Whew.
Yeah. So River goes back to school less than 2 weeks. The countdown is on.
Okay. Is she excited?
Yeah. Yes. I think she is excited. I don't know. I have so many mixed feelings about it because I didn't necessarily know that I would feel this way, like as when she was still in school and, we were approaching the beginning of summer. It means a lot less free time for myself. Because when River is in school, I have a couple of hours between like getting out of work and going to pick her up, which is quite frankly very nice. So I was sort of dreading that over the summer a little bit. But now I start to think now you're sort of looking down the tunnel here of what the fall will bring, which for us is like
busy
soccer schedules and gymnastic schedules and homework and, Spirit Week and Halloween costumes. And it's just like you sort of have to mentally get yourself in that zone. And with that, let's our first article here is from WBIR. It's a Tennessee TV station, and they're just talking about a doctor is sharing tips on how to minimize back to school anxiety for your kid. And maybe even for parents as well. I definitely have some of that. I know River does. We sort of were talking about she's going into first grade. And she actually said to me, I said, "Are you excited about first grade?" And she said, "Yeah, but I'm a little bit nervous." And I said, "Yeah, I think that's totally, totally normal to feel that way about new things." And then she asked Brian and I, she said, "But what about grownups? How come you don't ever have to start new things like new jobs?" And I was like, "Oh, girl.
Yes,
we do.
We do.
We do." But it also reminded Brian and I, we've been at these jobs a long time.
For a
We have
minute.
not had
A job change
a
since
job
River.
change, like
Yeah.
some of those things that, River is experiencing as well. So
You can tell her you started putting the podcast on YouTube.
oh, that's true.
Yeah.
It's a good point.
You could be
Yeah.
like, River, this was kind of scary, but we did it. We showed up. We made it through.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's life, right? It's just funny,
For
whether
them, it's
you're-
not like the cyclical, like every year you start a new grade
Right.
and you have a new teacher and you
Right.
have new classmates. Yeah.
But it is true. I mean, some of these things do relate, by the way, like whether you're 6 or 41, there's things are always changing and you're always trying to adapt and figure it out. And the summer has been a nice break from that. Anyway, this expert that these guys talked to had a couple of tips, and I thought these were some good ones. The doctors say to be proactive rather than reactive to all of this. So in other words, sort of anticipate some of this and sort of get ahead of it before they go back to school and you're sort of in the thick of it. So some of the tips: organize and strongly consider using a calendar. Try to reduce surprises and last minute projects that are due. Prioritize sleep. If your kid is struggling to go to bed early after the summer vacation, set the bedtime about 15 minutes earlier every 2 to 3 days. Set realistic expectations for your student. Number 4, plan to spend time together as a family. Studies show that kids and adolescents that eat dinner with their families are less likely to engage in high-risk behaviors. And then the 5th one is encourage your kid to let you know when they feel stressed. Show that you have a genuine interest in their feelings, validate their emotions, and let them know that you have their best interests at heart and you want them to be the best, healthiest, and happiest that they can be.
All good ideas. And it also names some of the warning signs, which I think are good to bring up because these could get overlooked. But mood changes, loss of interest in something they'd liked before, withdrawal from people or things that they are usually interested in, and a drop in grades. I think a lot of that sometimes, at least for me, with the hustle and bustle of life, you might not necessarily notice unless you're looking for those things. And I think it's good to be aware of those warning signs and be ready to put some of those steps in action if you do notice that your child is suffering from some of this. One of my kids, I didn't even realize and would never have been something I would have thought about, but gets really anxious about clothing in the morning before school.
Oh, okay.
And I think that's, I don't care about fashion. I'm not somebody who's worried about clothes really. And I certainly was not when I was a little kid.
So say
but
more
it's a
like
big deal.
specifically about like things need to match or the clothes aren't comfortable.
Not
or
that at all. The weather. And are they going to be in the right clothes for the day, especially in fall and spring where it's one temperature in the morning and a different temperature in the afternoon? He gets very nervous about do I wear pants? Do I wear shorts? Do I wear long sleeves? Do I wear short sleeves? That kind of surprised me. But I'm saying this to say that there are some things perhaps going on in your kids' minds that they are anxious about, worrying about, that you might not even realize unless they, that comes up. And for a while, I just thought maybe, like you said, maybe like, they just don't like that shirt, whatever. They're just being a kid and being indecisive. But I think there's a lot of anxiety about what the weather is going to be and that they want to be comfortable all day at school. So I think there's a lot going on maybe in our kids' minds. And I don't know if that's something different than when we were kids or it just depends on the person.
Like under the surface things are going on. Like on the surface level, that probably felt very to you, like who cares, superficial. But to your kid, it was something that was really important.
Right. So I think we just need to be, especially as we start a new school year, super conscious of how our kids are acting and maybe some of the things that, yes, we might not seem like a big deal, but for them are. And those anxieties and those nervous feelings can enter into their lives in different ways and in different aspects.
Yeah.
And we need to try to be on top of those.
You're just reminding me, River started kindergarten last year. She wears a uniform. And she, one of the things, this article mentions that anxiety and depression can cause some physical symptoms as well, like headaches, abdominal pain, nausea, rapid heartbeat. So last year, when your kid is in preschool or when your kid, they're frequently in like tights or shorts that don't have zippers, don't have buttons. And it never occurred to me. So River is wearing these skirts or they were skirts. So that's if you're not familiar, that's a skirt that has like shorts built in. And she was stressing over unbuttoning or like unzipping
Getting
some
them
of
on
these
and off when
skirts.
she
And
had to
it
go to the bathroom.
manifests. I remember I was volunteering at River's school a couple of weeks into school, and her teacher was like, "Hey, River has been going to the bathroom a lot. Like, any ideas on that? Like, and I didn't notice that. And it turns out through just talking to her and a couple of different things, she was feeling anxious about the zippers and the buttons and worried about, without giving too much information, worried about having an accident at school. But it was like, but it was like manifesting in a way that was not super obvious. Like she didn't think to say, "Hey, I'm like all these buttons and zippers are new to me, and here I am in this new environment, and I'm trying." So we did a couple of modifications actually of her outfits. Like we changed out some buttons, practiced the zippers, all of that kind of stuff. But it was stuff as like River's my only child, my first kid going to school. It never occurred to me that there would be a learning curve. Like I thought about all the other things, and that is something that's so obvious and so simple.
Well, and I think it just shows you don't know what each particular kid is going to be worried about or struggling with or anxious over. And so it's hard to plan for all of those things when each kid's going to be different. Each kid's going to have their own thing, and it might be something you're expecting, and it might be something you're totally not.
I know. Which all of that adds to, of course, my anxiety, by the way. I'm like, okay, what have I not thought about? What is like going to be the thing? Because there's always something, right? There's going to be something that crops up that in first grade that I just wasn't on my radar.
Well, and I think we can't possibly, predict all the things or be prepared for them, but hopefully we can help them deal with those things when they come up. And my big message to my kids always is talk to me. You've got to know that I'm always here to talk to you if it's small, if it's big, because I think that the communication is a big part of it.
And, one of the things I've really learned through this podcast, by the way, is just reading all these different articles is to validate your kids' feelings. So when River says to me things like, I'm a little bit nervous about first grade, my first instinct as a parent is to be like, you'll be fine. It'll be
okay.
fine.
Everything's great.
All your friends will be there. You love your teacher. But I've had to pull back on that and say, no, I totally get it. Starting new things.
It's hard.
Can be hard. That can be scary. I'm totally here for you. And I totally get where you're coming from,
So I have a mom's that's back to school related. Moms. This is a little section where we talk about a product, something that we think will help.
Yeah.
Help moms. This is, and I don't know if you're familiar with this, Katie, you might be. Some of our friends have these, an Apple AirTag.
Oh, yes. I actually don't have one, but there are multiple things in my life in which I wish you had an AirTag.
Yeah. So if my kids don't have phones yet.
Yeah.
Or any device. And so it's $22 right now on Amazon, and you can, some friends of ours up the street have them for their kids, and they clip them on their backpacks so that there have been a couple of times where I'm running just a little bit late from work, and thankfully, last year we had a very sweet bus driver who was able to make sure they were in the house and eating a snack, and would tell them mom's going to be home in 5 minutes. But just for peace of mind, to have that little tag, and I know I can put it on Ella Ray's book bag, and then I know where all three big kids are since they go to the same school. They're all together, getting off the bus, wherever it may be. Also, even just sometimes, hey, is the bus close?
Mm-hmm.
You can track them that way to see kind of when the bus is going to be home. So yeah, I think for $22, it's just a nice peace of mind. Obviously, you can't communicate with them, but then you just know where they are.
So it's an Apple product, correct?
Yes, sorry. It's an Apple product that, I didn't
on
explain.
Amazon?
Yes, it's on Amazon for $22, but it is a little tiny tag that you put on their book bag or wherever.
And you can track it with your phone.
And you can track it with your phone. Sorry, that was like the key piece. Yeah, so you can look on your phone on the app and know exactly. I mean, it says like within, like, they're 4 feet from this. You know, you can get very close to exactly where they are.
I like this idea. I like the book bag idea. It did not occur to me. Brian and I, you know, River has this Lovey puppy, the famous puppy.
Oh, yes.
Brian and I, which by the way was like a $4 Costco buy from my mother-in-law. So it's just funny that puppy is you know, he has no monetary value, but incredibly valuable to River. We've actually talked about like cutting puppy open at the seam and putting an air tag in him and then sewing it back up because, you know, we travel, we're on planes, we're on vacation. Puppy always comes and Brian and I are always like, Brian will actually say, puppy's the most important thing. We could lose anything. We could lose our phones. We could lose our, you know, our cameras, the backpacks, our luggage. But puppy is literally, like, you can't replace him, you know? So
remember when you lost him and then it was like a big to-do to find the replacement puppy?
Well, we never replaced him. We found him.
Oh, you found the original.
And we
But
tried.
there was like a stressful.
We had replacements, but River knew the difference between the like the new puppies and the old puppy. And now
Like
they're like
backup
hanging
puppy.
around the house and they're just like puppies, cousins, and brothers. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I remember the stress when puppy was
I think
missing.
air tags, my point is air tags could come in handy for a lot of different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
So this next article is 5 tips. You know what? I'm going to stop for just a second. That camera's not right.
This one?
No, this one. See how it's moved?
Oh.
He can cut it here.
Okay.
And don't you think?
I do.
Okay, continuing on the back to school theme, our next article is from NPR. 5 tips to save money on back to school shopping. Listen, I had no idea this number, but it's pretty staggering. The average American spend $875 per kid on back to school items. Now, caveat, let me say that is supplies, book bags, lunch boxes, all the things for your classroom, and also clothing, which can up the bill a bit. But that still seems so incredibly high to me.
Yeah. Well, actually, when I looked at that, I was like, wait, that's not true. I thought to myself, because River already bought all her school supplies. It was $100. Okay. It was like $97.98. And I was like, I only spent $100. And then I started thinking about like, well, I had to buy her some uniforms, some new uniforms, because she'd like grown out of her other ones. Okay. Then she needed a new book bag. She'd had like the same book bag since like her 3-year preschool year. And she needed a lunchbox because that was like, the lunchbox was starting to look a little cruds. And then I was like, she needed new shoes. And I was like, well, crap. Maybe I did spend. I mean, I don't think I spent $900,
but maybe $500.
But I was like, yeah. And then I thought about you, and I was like, oh my gosh! Like,
do you know what $875 times 4 is?
I mean, less than $4,000, but
$3,500.
Yeah. What do you think? Do you think you actually spend that much?
No, I don't. There's no way I spend that much. Now, I will say a couple of things. I do not do, and I don't know, many others do. You're in a little bit of a different situation because you have uniforms. I don't know if most people go back to school clothing shopping and let all of their kids buy however many new outfits. We are very fortunate to have hand-me-downs. So I never take them back to school clothing shopping. Every once in a while, they'll say, hey, I'm out of leggings, or I don't really have many long sleeve t-shirts at the moment, whatever. But I don't do a lot of clothing shopping. And I will say for the school supplies, our kids, their school system, it's very minimal. It's very minimal.
Really?
Yeah. It's really not a lot. I mean, for each grade, and you know me, I'm going to look and see if it's cheaper on Amazon or cheaper on Target or Walmart or wherever. But I would say I spend less than $50 a kid.
So
on their school supplies. But I think a lot of it depends on what your school is asking for.
Right. You and I had this conversation
Mhm.
last year. So River School does this thing, which is brilliant, where they have a company who here's what you need. You can go out and buy this yourself, or here's a box full of all of the things. And like, here's the price. That's how I knew it was like $97.98 total.
Mhm.
Here's this thing. And in fact, like you just bring that box in to the Meet the Teacher and hand it over.
Oh, wow. That's nice.
Which is nice. And it's funny. I was at a birthday party a couple of weeks ago and I was like, I did that. This is River's only in first grade. I did it for kindergarten, which by the way, the kindergarten box was even more expensive than the first grade box. I was like, am I the only one who is doing this? Because I was like, maybe I should be. And all the parents were like, no, we do it too. Are you kidding? Like, it's probably
So
more
easy.
expensive, but like whatever, like whatever you're saving, like time is money. So
Right,
like it's
right,
saving
right.
you. And I was like, okay, good. But so River School, and you have to tell me if this is, we send River to a private school. Your kids go to public school here. They're like tissue boxes and wipes and that stuff too. So why am I spending so much more money?
I don't know.
Crayons, markers. See, this is where it makes me wonder. I'd have to actually go down the list.
And see
but I feel
what-
like it's like
yeah.
a bunch of cleaning stuff, which, by the way, I'm happy to spend on my because I don't want the teachers to have to spend that money, and I'm happy to provide wipes and tissues and that kind of stuff.
So the way ours works is each kid, it's like, okay, your kid needs, these are like, this is the bare minimum must have. Your kid needs, 3 folders, these colors, this composition notebook, these colored pencils, whatever. And then it's like, and here's our wish list for the class.
Oh, okay.
And so sometimes some of those things are on the must-have list,
Right.
and usually from the wish list, I'll pick like 2 or 3 from each class and get those right to bring in too. I will say the other thing is buying in bulk. So this is what, so this article is talking about tips to save money.
Yeah.
So let me just run through these and then I'll get back to what we normally do. Plan around tax-free shopping dates, which many states have them. North Carolina, unfortunately, does not.
But South Carolina
does, which is not far. And, there's a list online. You could just look if you live in another state and you're curious about that. Spread the shopping to different stores, which is what I definitely do. So check for some of those items. I've been astounded sometimes, especially, how it is back to school season. Amazon will jack up the prices a lot for things, or I don't know if they jack them up, but they are a lot more expensive
on Amazon as opposed to going to like Target or something or Walmart.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Research beforehand, kind of along those same lines. Price matching, I'd never thought of, but apparently, and this is, I think, more for those big ticket items, a laptop, bigger things, you can price match. So if you buy one at one store and see it, the exact same item for a lower price somewhere else, bring in the receipt and they will, give you the discount. And buy in bulk. So what I do, and I even have a drawer in my house of things, like if 2 of 3 kids need a composition book, but the best deal is to get a 10-pack, I'll just buy it because I know that a couple of them need it this year, and then I've got those extras for next year.
Yeah.
So I'll have to dig through my inventory once we get the list before we start going. But it does take time, but I will go through the list and look and say, what is the price for all of these things at Target, Walmart, dollar store, wherever, Amazon, and see what the cheapest are. Although it does make me, realize, I don't know, maybe teachers want, I don't know if they care what the brands are. But
I doubt it. Right?
I don't think. I mean, who knows? Yeah, I think too, the other thing, just to go back to that $875 a kid, I mean, I think we're not at the stage where, our kids have one-to-one divide, their schools provide them laptops, iPads for kindergarten, that sort of thing. So we're not buying those. I do think I remember when I hit middle school and had to get one of those TI-81, whatever they were.
Oh, the calculator?
The calculator that was real expensive, or seemed to be at the time. I don't know.
They were probably like $15, by the way.
But in my head, I was like, don't lose this. This is
Yeah.
So I do think that you can see the price go up substantially once you start adding in some of those types of things, which we're just not there yet. Because that was the estimate for everyone kids from elementary all the way through high school. And of course, when you get to middle school and high school, you're also, do you have an instrument in band? Do you have, there's so many other things once they get older. We're still dealing with crayons and composition books and that sort of thing. But yeah, it's shocking to me that they're estimating that people spend this much money.
One of the tips here, and this is actually one that I do practice, is prioritize what you need right now. So I was saying that River needed a couple of items of clothing just because she had grown out of some of her polo shirts and some of her sweaters last year for school. And she actually needs a couple of sweaters. She needs some tights to wear underneath her skirts right now. But I was like, you know what? Like, especially here in Asheville, I mean, she doesn't need that stuff until October. And I was like, I'm just going to let's just see. There's also, they do like a used uniform sale at the beginning of the year. Like, I'm going to hold off on some of these items that she does not need right this very second. Right. And I think it's a way to sort of spread out the money a little bit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
or just like sort of wait and see. And like, maybe you don't need that. River has a pair of shoes that still fit her from last year, and they're kind of dressier shoes. So she didn't wear the heck out of them last year. They're not, they're still in good shape. She didn't wear them this summer. And I'm like, by December, she's probably going to need new ones of these, but she doesn't need them right now. And I'm just going to hold off and see what happens. So I think that's also an easy way. Like, you don't have to do it all right now. You can prioritize.
Good luck, my friends, with all of the back to school.
Yeah, we're on your side.
Crazy.
Yeah, we're on your side. Hey, I want to mention this too. Visit us on Instagram and Facebook. We're talking back to school stuff there as well. And
check us out on YouTube.
And check us out on YouTube.
Have a great week.
Bye, guys. Anchor Moms is a Sinclair podcast produced out of WLOS in Asheville. We're your hosts, Katie Killen and Karen Zakalek. Anchor Moms is edited by Matthew Yates.
For more information on the topics discussed in this episode and to stay up to date on future episodes, follow us on Instagram at AnchorMOMS.
You can follow Anchor Moms on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Know a parent who could benefit from this week's Anchor Moms episode? Your recommendations help our show to grow, so spread the word.